Somebody put a fan on me. Somebody put a fan on me. Get my hair going.
So what do we got here, Brandon?
We have a Rochetta Bally 150. It's got the trunk box. Oh, and a helmet.
Dibs.
Got a helmet. It's running real smooth, as you can see. This is the diesel model. We're gonna take it out and do a little burnout, road test it for our customers.
That's 10 psi now.
That's 10. That's it.
Well, I couldn't feel it more because I let go of the brake for a second.
All right, let me try to do burnout on it.
10 psi? It needs more than that.
I was trying to put like 80 in it.
It's a 150?
I think the throttle might be hooked up to the brake. Oh no!
Oh.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Alright, I decided to make a little video on kind of how all this stuff goes together. What we have here is a Honda AF16, which is going to essentially be the same install as AF18. Kymco ZX50. What are you doing, Paul?
Hi, thanks.
Creeping. Anyways, a couple of the important things to remember is your tape gun's right here.
Is that mine or yours?
That's your tape gun. It's got
Oh, yeah.
a padded handle for your
yeah.
soft hands. And we have a video kind of explaining the parts and pieces to this, but one of the critical things that I see happen pretty common, this is your base plate here. This is a plate that's going to screw down to the engine. These three spots here, these three grooves are what your wires go through. If you pinch them in there or you slice them or cut them, you're immediately going to ground this. You're going to ground the circuitry out on the charging system, and you're going to ruin your unit or have problems. So again, really common where this is a really common thing where people are pinching the wires when they're putting it together. So I'm going to show you how it goes together. Start with your motor in a good working position. We use these stands. Tim Brown made this one for us. Works out pretty good for putting motors together. But it's a pretty straightforward install. You've got your screws for screwing this guy down. It's a good idea to use thread locker on this guy here. The other thing you need to keep in mind is when you're installing your rotor kit, whether you have an AF18, AF16, Kymco ZX50, you need to keep in mind the position of your pickup here, because this part here is what essentially tells your engine when to spark, because your pickup here sees this and tells it to spark. So you have two different positions on your key for your crank. One's for AF18 and one's for AF16. So again, you need to keep that in mind, because some motors have the pickup back here and some have it up here. Something to keep in mind when you're doing that, very important. Also, you want to make sure when you do this job, it's very important, your flywheel key, maybe? Your flywheel key is this guy right here. It needs to be in good condition or just replace it. 90% of the time, your guys' stock ones are going to be totally fine, but if this is sheared or damaged in any way, shape, or form, you need to replace it. You can typically get a little tiny pick in here and pop this out to replace it. Pretty cheap. I think they're about $8. We stock them, and also from Honda as well. But make sure that's a good key. This is going out to a customer, so we're going to make sure to lock everything, torque everything down. So I'm going to get started and kind of show you guys how this goes together. Again, this is a 100% plug and play. Your charging system will still work with this. Your lights will still work with this. It comes with supplied. This is actually a Yamaha jog fan. It's lighter, a little bit lower profile. You can use your stock one, or you can actually use a jog one if you want to kind of go for a lighter weight. On this, you have one bolt pattern here for your stock Honda fan, and you have another bolt pattern here for your jog fan. Choose whichever one you want. Also, something to keep in mind is this side of the shroud needs to be spaced out. We typically just use 2 or 3 little aluminum spacers here to space the shroud out, because if you use this, you don't have to. If you use a Honda fan, because this is a little bit taller, you do have to space your shrouds out a little bit to get it to fit. There you have it. Let's go ahead and let's get to work and get this guy installed. All right, so we have the main system here installed. What I've done is I've just replaced the factory ones with Allen's here just because I like them a little better, a little bit cleaner. You've got your factory little rubber bushing in here that keeps the dust and grime and whatnot out of your engine. Most important thing to remember, guys, is these wires back here. When you push them through this little metal area here with the grooves, they need to go all the way, and you want them up against the back of the case, because what happens is, again, they get pinched right between this area and they short out. That, or if they're sticking out too much, your actual flywheel will rub on the wires. Also, when they go back behind this pickup plate, you don't want to pinch them between the engine case and this backing plate. You want to make sure that they're routed nice and smooth and they have slack, and you can actually get them and wiggle them around a little bit. The next thing you guys are going to do, if you have a starter, this one doesn't, is you're going to route your harness up this direction, and this is where your ground lands. The ground lands where the starter is. Whether you have the starter or not on your bike, that's where this ground wire lands. If you don't have this ground on your bike, this is not going to work properly. This is the start wire for your starter as well. So if you don't have your starter, again, leave this disconnected. This wire always has to be grounded to the cases of the bike to provide the system with the proper ground reference. Next thing you guys need to do, depending on what bike you have, is make sure you pick the proper flywheel key position on this guy. If you don't pick the right one, it will spark, but it will not start because it's going to be sending the signal to excite the coil and get the spark plug to spark when your piston is in the wrong position. Very important, can't explain that enough. Make sure you guys compare this with your stock flywheel. Sit it down if you have to. Take your little spot here on your other flywheel, set it next to it, and compare where your groove is and land it on the same one, maybe mark it with a Sharpie or whatever. But again, one's for AF18, one's for AF16. Make sure when you put this back on, you match it to the existing position of your OEM flywheel.
Through though?
I think so.
Oh yeah.
What are you guys doing?
A little cable repair. Is your microphone on there?
Oh, yeah.
We got
Going.
this.
How you liking that, Paul?
Oh yeah.
Is it working? I love how you lube that cable, Brandon. This is a proper scooter swap shop etiquette on how to lube a cable.
How to unseize a cable.
Unseize a cable.
This side is the rusty side for
Hasn't
sure.
got any attention in a few years.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Paul? Or are we talking about the throttle cable?
It's not a throttle cable.
Whatever. Right here. Oh, he's getting looser now.
Oh yeah.
Here, aim it up so we can really fill the void. So now we have everything put together. Got the wires routed through here nicely. What we did is we just marked this out just so you guys can kind of see where the AF16 and where the AF18 is. And obviously, if you understand engines, you understand how the flywheel key works. What I typically do is just kind of roughly get it close where it is, just kind of rock it back and forth, and it'll just fall right into place. And I just kind of walk it on. If you have to force it or anything or hammer it past this is how far it should sit in. If you have to force it and it's not just sliding on just like how I had it, just like that, then your flywheel key is either bent, sheared, sticking out, it's oblong. Do not put it on. You want it to sit just like that. Another thing, make sure you guys use a OEM Honda nut. You don't want to get a Ace Hardware, Home Depot thing, because what happens is this is too hard, and if you over tighten it, you'll strip the crank out. The key behind the factory nuts that most people don't understand is a factory nut is softer than the metal that it's going onto, so it's softer than the crank. So if you over tighten it, it's just going to pull these threads out and you're going to ruin your nut. No big deal. If you go get a grade 8 or whatever it is at the hardware store and you over tighten it or there's a problem, you're going to ruin your crank. The part number for that guy, if you guys need, there you go. There's your part number from Honda. Babbitt's is a good place to get little things like this. We keep them on hand. But next step, sounds like you guys probably got it figured out. For the most part, you're going to take your 14mm socket, and I use a impact driver. Some people frown on that. I've never had a problem with it yet. You want to use a variable speed one. If you do, you don't want to use a big giant one that's one speed and it's just going to crack your whole entire crank in half. But I just basically hand tighten this on. You always want to hand tighten it first to make sure it threads on good and everything's good. And then you want to take your impact driver and tap this down. Another thing you can do is you can actually secure your variator here on the back side, lock it in place, and take your torque wrench and torque this down. I use an impact, do a little dab of Loctite on here. In the video, I didn't do that just because I still have more work to do on this motor. Once you get this guy on, next step you're going to do is you're going to take your jog fan, your Honda fan, you're going to put your bolts in here to bolt that motor on, and then your shrouds go back together just the same way you took it apart. Don't really need to go over that, I don't think, because you guys, obviously, if you've gotten to this point, you know how to take your shrouds off. That's pretty much it. That's the basic theory behind it. A couple things to keep in mind as well. This is just plug and play, just plugs right into your other harness. This is going to be your ground. Obviously, you'd route it up through here, land your ground here, your starter wire here, and your wires go up this way to your bike. Keep in mind, you do not want this section, this has electronics in it, you don't want this to rub up against an edge of a frame. If this rubs up against the edge of a frame, the circuit board, there's resistors in here, can contact your frame and short out, again, ruin your charging system. Another thing we've seen happen, this bolt was not tightened down enough. The entire flywheel came off, and it actually came down and it contacted this little pickup point. This pickup is very, very fragile. If this contacts this pickup, it's done. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're running one of these cheap green Koso, eBay, whatever, Chinese style fans, they explode on the 2-strokes. Probably about 90% of them explode. And when they do, if you get a piece that comes down here and taps this pickup, it's done. I actually had a Chinese fan on my bike explode and a buddy's. It ruined the shrouds, it seized the cylinder, it ruined my NCY charging system, and it actually took out the NCY CDI, believe it or not. That all in all was about a $600, $600-700 worth of parts that were damaged because the Chinese $3 fan blew up. I highly, highly don't recommend running an aftermarket fan. I don't care what brand they call it. You guys have seen the turbo fan or whatever. Use a jog fan supply or use your factory fan. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let us know. This is a product that is exclusive from Scooterswapshop. There are other rotor kits that are similar, but they only have pickup spots for AF18, not the AF16. So something to keep in mind when you guys are buying other products. The NCY is our exclusive item. It's the only one that has the 2 bolt patterns, and it comes with a jog fan, and it has the 2 different timing spots. They're $249 online now. If you guys don't see them there, then they're probably sold out and they're going to come back soon. So thanks for watching, appreciate it, and we'll get some more videos going for you guys. Spank America?
Yeah.
This is Paul's first scammer video.
Yeah, I need to ask him about my stimulus check.
Don't be really, you gotta keep it G-rated though.
Yeah.
But don't be too nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask them if they can double down.
Double down?
Check. Yeah.
Let me hear, do you have a Boston accent? No? It got it! When Bruce calls, he goes, it got it! Come on.
But Bruce isn't from Boston.
Where's he from?
Brockton.
I don't know what that's all the same to me. Is it the same or is it different?
It's not the same.
No?
No.
Alright, well we're just gonna wait here?
Yeah. I lost the broom when I was looking for it.
You lost the broom?
Yeah.
How do you lose a broom?
I misplaced it because I was on the phone.
You can't use a broom and...
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you for asking. I believe you are responding to get a low interest rate on your credit card, is that correct?
That's correct. I was wondering if you could so I just got my Donald Trump stimulus check, and I was wondering if you could give me one as well for being such a good customer.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. What, you think this is a joke?
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
That was short-lived. That's alright.